And welcome back to the shop here at Boyd's Brass. Today I'm back on the Reynolds Contempora FE-O3. This is a horn that's coming together. I just got it back from the shop where I had some dent work done to the bell and had it sonic/chemical cleaned. So it's ready to be put back together. There are still some issues. This slide for some reason now is not actually going into the horn, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. And otherwise it just needs to be put back together, once over, checked over. There's still some dents here that I just decided weren't worth taking the bell off to get. One there, one there. But this horn's gonna be a real nice player and a good, probably budget-friendly, good double for somebody here in the near future. So let's get to work putting this thing back together. First things first, let's do the valves here. So there's one thing about these horns that I've heard a lot of technicians complain about, and that's the closeness that the lead pipe gets to this third valve paddle arm here, and restringing and messing with that screw. It is a little difficult. That's one thing, that's not the greatest about these horns, but what are you gonna do? Complain about it, or just figure out a way to fix it? We got a lot of these horns floating around, so it does take a little bit of extra work, but it's not too bad. So just know if you're ever working on one of these Reynolds that that paddle arm is somewhat difficult to get to. I'll be showing that process here in just a minute. I do have a missing screw here. Looks like maybe that got lost somewhere along the line. So I'm gonna dig around my parts pile and see if I can find something that'll go in there. And there we go, just like that. Looks a little different, but screws in perfectly and solid. This is off a parts Olds horn that I have. So ironically and nicely, all of these bumpers line up perfectly to put these valves in alignment. These came on the horn, and ironically they're perfect, even though the horn was strangely put together to begin with. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the slides back in this horn, do a couple minor solder repairs, and this horn will be ready to go. So one slide this could have been fixed better. It looks like maybe the shop I took it to decided to take a swing at solder work, and they usually do a fine job at it, but this is, maybe, I don't know, maybe they had some apprentice doing it, but this is pretty damaged, and the slide is now pretty bent up. So I think what I'm going to do is just redo this solder joint here. First off, I'm going to get rid of this nasty solder. I actually may use this slide joint here to kind of hold it. And this is kind of working out ideally, where I just kind of cleaning up the solder with it in the horn, and it's lining up itself. And it'll do that in some cases. So I was able to get the slide to go in and out of the horn. I haven't greased it, but I've gotten it to go in and out smoothly. But let's come to this angle, and I think you can probably see that this slide is not bent straight, and for that reason, when you push the slide all the way in, it actually collides with this tube. So I'm gonna go ahead and work this a little bit. See if I can bend this slide back into the original position just by hand here. Then I'm going to do this joint right here, which is broken. So to bend this by hand, I'm just gonna kind of put some pressure on the tube and try to keep the rest of the horn from bending. Definitely don't want to break that. This is a pretty stout slide here. And there we go. With just a little bit of elbow grease and hard work, I've been able to pretty much get this slide back into position where it needs to be. This solder joint, I'm gonna do a little bit more cleanup work on it, but first I'm gonna go ahead and solder this back together. These are real easy. You can see there's some solder in there left over. I just usually put a little flux in there and put some solder in there, and boom, we've got a solid solder joint. So that's what I'm gonna do here. So now that's soldered solid together, I'm going to go ahead and just dunk it real fast in my water here. And that's the water in my sonic cleaner there, that it's a mix of water and detergent. And that equalizes the flux pretty well. So there's that, wipe this down. And as you can see, got a nice solder joint. Clear, clean. It needs a little bit of cleanup right here, I think, just to make it look a little nicer. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And last things for this kind of stuff I usually do is just a little bit of buffing. Got a nice new brick of red buffing compound here. I'm gonna add a little bit. There we go. I'm just buffing the whole slide here just to see what happens. I wouldn't usually do this, but if it looks real nice, I might go ahead and buff the slides. We'll see. After that's done, I'm just going to take my polishing cloth and see where we stand here with how it looks visually. Oh, it's all right. Yeah, so I'm real pleased with how this has turned out. It seems real stout, solid. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the horn together. So there it is with all the slides in. So now all I need to do is get these valves put back together, restrung here, and we will be set. This horn will be, well, hopefully, unless there's other issues, done. All right, just like if you're eating food you don't like, eat the first thing you should eat is, what you don't like, and then enjoy the rest. I'm going to do the hard one here first. And there we are. After just 2 videos, this horn is completely resurrected, as we're saying here. And just a few little minor things. I'm going to do a quick play test on it, and this horn will be ready to go. As I was play testing this horn, after finishing it, I found one more minor error thing here. And as this lead pipe has been separated from this brace right here. You can see that right there, just pulling away a little bit. Super easy fix in this case. You know, this is just going to be an issue of heat it up a little bit, like so. Get it nice and warm. Grab some flux. Drip just a little bit of flux in there. Wipe up the excess a little bit. Okay, make sure none got on the metal, because that could be bad. Take the solder. In this case, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open it up. Ram some solder in there, because, you know, it just works that way. And then it's going to heat up. It's going to melt the solder into that brace, like so. And just like that, except for the heat, can't even tell it happened. Boom. Good and solid. And as you can see right here, that solder joint turned out beautifully. So now this horn is complete, fully resurrected, ready to be played. So these Reynolds horns are really fantastic instruments. They're great. They're kind of similar in sound to Con 8D. They're big, crusty horns, you know. So I'm going to go ahead and play some on this horn so you can hear how it sounds now that it has been fully resurrected from the dead. So yeah, this is a great horn. Sure, she's got some scars, some worn spots, but this is going to be a good budget horn for somebody. I really think it's a good player and something that's going to last somebody a good long time and not break the bank. So keep an eye out on boydsbrass.com for this horn in the very near future.